Hi everyone and good evening. It's been a long time since I've done a live with you, so this is kind of an exciting event. I know now why everybody does these overhead videos, because I'm going to have to reposition the camera here a little bit later. But I needed to have you see my face, I guess, so you know who I am. I haven't done one of these in a long time. My name is Laura Nash. I'm the owner and designer at So Chic Pattern Company, and me, along with all of my awesome volunteer moderators and admin, help me run this awesome group that can help you learn how to sew better with So Chic patterns. So Kendra asks a question in the group. She says, hello all. She says she's about to start work on Simplicity 8534. That's this pattern right here. And I call this, or we who are in the know, we call this the waterfall dress. It is by So Chic. Right here you can see the logo on it. And she says, my question is about tailoring the paper pattern. I am short from my shoulder to my bust point. And I often need to make this adjustment on patterns so that the garment will hang right. This pattern has the sleeve attached, which, by the way, is called a cut-on sleeve. You might see it called a grown-on sleeve elsewhere, but that term, I don't know where it came from. It is actually a cut-on sleeve is the proper term. And she says it has the sleeve attached to the bodice, and any adjusts that I make in this area from bust to shoulder will affect the sleeve as well, which is very true because you know how to lengthen and shorten. You just cut a straight line across the pattern and you spread it or shorten it, and everything in that area gets the ticket done. So she says, have any of you worked to tailor this design in the shoulder or bust point area? And she would like some advice about this. So I did some work with a pattern similar. As a matter of fact, a lot of my patterns do come with a cut-on sleeve. For instance, the Southern Belle is a cut-on sleeve. It's all one. It's, well, okay, so it's not cut-on, but it is a raglan sleeve. And let's see, am I right about this one? Yes, this one is the tailor, the portrait blouse. It also has a one-piece bodice and sleeve, and the Constance. This is the pattern that I'm going to be using today. We did a pattern hack earlier, well, last year actually, about this time last year, and we did a lot of work on this Constance pattern and completely redid it. And I showed everyone how to do a full bust adjustment on this pattern without even touching the sleeve or having an effect on the shoulder as well. So this is going to be a really cool technique that you're going to love. Now, there's a measurement that we do want to take, because if you are short from shoulder to bust point, or your bust point is actually higher than is standard, maybe you have tiny arms as well. So it is a good measurement to have if you've got a bicep measurement. And then you can find out if you actually can take some away from the sleeve and take out some of that fullness if it's going to be a bother. And for those of us who have standard arms, then you're going to want to leave that sleeve alone, because otherwise you'll take away the ease and you won't have room to move, right? So my sleeve, or my arm, is just about a little bit more than 13 inches, and this is a pattern in my size. The first thing that we want to do on this pattern is to put in some seam allowances, because a seam allowance is going to tell us how much pattern we actually have to work with, because you never want to do an alteration in the seam area. That's not The seam area is independent of the bodice area. It's just a little bit of an extension that keeps us from cutting into our needed area, right? So if I'm going to measure from here to here, if I've got my bicep measurement, then I'm going to find out that I have just about, I don't know, depending on where I measure across, but you know, I want to be generous, so I'm going to measure right about here. I have, you know, 6 3/4 inches, and if I have a 13-inch bicep, I need all of this space, so I can't mess with the sleeve on this pattern. So, like I said, it's always a good idea to mark in your seam allowance whenever you're going to do an alteration, so that you know exactly how much space you have to work with. And so I know now that my body width, I need all of this space. So I'm going to change my camera now and just work on my table here so you can see what I'm doing. And I need to make some adjustments. And that's going to take me just a couple minutes. Oops. And let's see if I need to get just a tiny bit closer to what I'm working on here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so hopefully that is going to be a good view for you and a good view for me for working. All right, so I've got my seam allowances marked, as you can see. I've got my grain line marked. On this pattern, this area right between these notches is going to be a gather. So just like this simplicity pattern, it also has gathers, or rather pleats on this one, which is kind of the same effect, right? So your bust point could be just about anywhere. It's a good idea to hold the pattern up to yourself and find out just exactly where your bust point is. You know, is it up here? Is it down here? You know, where is your bust point? And then you can see exactly where your breast is in this area and know kind of what area you're working with. So if I have decided, even though my bust point is up here, I really want to shorten everything, I want to leave my sleeve exactly where it is, I'm going to actually cut off my sleeve. So I'm going to use my blue pen just so you can see it really well. And I'm going to take this line from right here up to the shoulder point. Actually, over here I think is a good place. Just like that. This is going to be a cut line for me. I'm going to cut the pattern completely apart right there. And now I can work with this pattern as if it had an armscye in it. And this also works for anything that you, any bust adjustments that you need to make. You would go over to this area right here. So a bust point or a bust adjustment would kind of go over here. Now I can lengthen or shorten as I need to on this pattern and make my adjustments, whether it's like way up in this area, is it down in this area. Either way, you want to make sure that you've got it perpendicular to your grain line. And I'm going to create a shortening line here. I'm going to say that from right here to right here, this is 1 inch. I'm going to shorten, okay? So that's 1 inch. I'm going to fold this along this bottom line right here. Fold it up to match the top line. So I've shortened my pattern exactly the distance that I need to get my bust point so that it looks proper with my gathers or with my pleats, and tape it into place. Now, if I need to do a full bust adjustment, then that's really easy to do as well. So I've got my bust point marked. It's right here. I'm going to demonstrate that. So here's my cut line, and then over to my pivot point right there. I'm also going to be lengthening, because anytime you add width, you also have to add length. And that's going to be my length cut line. I'm going to cut into my pattern right here. For those of you who need a bust adjustment, you need to make it smaller. That works too. Leave yourself a pivot point right here. See, I'm not going to cut this whole thing apart. I'm going to leave it there. And if I need to overlap to make it smaller, then I would overlap it. There are charts in the guides to tell you how much or how little that you need. If I need to add more, then I'm going to put paper down in here, and then this is going to get cut apart, and it's going to be lengthened to match this side. Now, some people ask, where do I measure? Well, we're going to measure between these 2 points right here. If this is your bust point, we're going to measure from that bust point down here. I'm going to grab some paper. One thing I didn't grab was some paper. And I'm just doing this really quick, so be sure and use your chart so that you know how much to add or subtract. Don't just do it randomly like I'm showing you. But since I'm already cutting this pattern apart, I thought this would be a nice little addition to this tutorial. And then, of course, to lengthen, I'm not going to just throw this in here randomly. I have to measure from this line so I know how much to add. And it looks like this center front line needs to stay straight, so that's what I'm going to true to. Doing a full bust adjustment is super easy, you guys. I don't know why people get worried about it, but I guess it's because I do them so much that they just come really quickly for me. And then I'm going to say that I need to lengthen this about 3/4 of an inch. No, it's 5/8. Okay, so 5/8 of an inch. Draw myself a parallel line to match. And then I can tape this in place. True all of this up. Oops. Got my tape going in the wrong way. Tape down there wrong. Okay. And now I've just done a full bust adjustment for you, and I've shortened the bodice. Now you're like, okay, I got this sleeve. I got to put that back on here too, right? So here we are. We're going to put this back on just the way it was before. Ta-da! I have shortened the bodice. The sleeve is exactly the same. Now what I've done is I've lined it up. So here's the point where I cut it. Here's the point where it matches up again. And this little bit of extra right here gets taken in where the curve used to be, right up here. And you're going to have to make this change to the back as well. So whatever change you make to the front, except for full bust adjustments, you make to the back. You'll cut off the sleeve, shorten the bodice, and then tape the sleeve back on. Now, let me see if I can show this to you a little bit better. Give you a little bit better view of the sleeve and what we did with the full bust adjustment. Okay, so there we are. So see you guys later. Have fun.